interesting example. Israel was to completely destroy whatever Canaanites were left in the land after God had removed the Canaanites ahead of time out of the land. They did not do that. Then God says, okay, they did it partially, but not completely. And God says, because you have not done this completely, all your generations for the rest of history will learn war, will have issues with violence, violent people attacking them, nations, and so forth, because they did not. You see, sometime a harsh event in the past, like wiping out the remaining Canaanites, which God describes as carrying out terrible evil. Because of that, he says, you will learn the same things. I will have to eradicate you to the same extent, and you will learn war to all generations. So it seemed like it was a terrible thing to wipe out the Canaanites. And I think we've talked about that. I'll have to go back and check, because I published a paper in a philosophy journal on this. There's a lot to be said for it. So God ordered them to destroy the Canaanites, but he did that because he knew in advance, if that's not done, much greater evil takes place in the future. They did not completely do it, so a lot more evil has taken place since then. And God says, I would have done this, but because of that, your decisions, this will happen. So we have a case in the Bible that's very clear that God, his desire was they do such and such. They did not comply with his desire. Therefore, there are consequences, but he is still orchestrating the whole historical thing such that in the end, he will bring about the greatest good, the greatest number of people who have eternal life and a relationship with God, despite what they did. So, in other words, the evil that God does allow in this world always brings about a greater good or prevents a greater evil. And this is the key premise that both secular philosophers operate by, as well as theologians operate by, is that God, if he's perfectly good and all powerful, would never allow things to happen in this world that do not either bring about a greater good or prevent a much greater evil.